Black Lagoon was unlike any show I'd seen at the time. It had a cast of characters that both looked and acted like adults, a black anime character that didn't feel like he was written by someone wearing a triangular hood, and a story that cut out all the unnecessary anime garbage and didn't feel the need to hold the viewer's hand throughout. This was all mind-blowing to 10-year-old me, whose only exposure to anime at that point had been roided up men screaming at each other and ninjas who threw up gang signs. So today, I want to take you guys back to the early 2010s when people were still going around wearing silly bands and thinking the world was gonna end, and revisit one of my favorite anime ever, Black Lagoon. The Lagoon Company are a group of for-hire pirates who do close to anything for anyone if the money's right. Their business takes them from shithole to shithole, retrieving and delivering cargo for all sorts of dangerous criminals, like the cartel, the Russian mafia, and worst of all, the United States government. The pirates seem to have their way of life figured out. Take the job, do what's needed to get it done, and get paid. That is, until something unexpected happens to them. Our main character. Rock's a man who's had an uneventful life. After graduating from college, he'd immediately become an office worker, which would set him up for a career of monotony. If he isn't kissing his boss's ass or getting him coffee, he's traveling on business trips for his company. But his cushy, boring life crashes and burns when Rock finds himself on the receiving end of a hijacking at the hands of the Lagoon Company. In a spur-of-the-moment decision, one of the pirates kidnaps Rock and plans to ransom him off back to his old company. She forgot one thing though. Japanese companies don't give a fuck about their employees. That's the job of the suicide nets after all. And so Rock is left for dead by the same people he spent most of his life working for. This breaks him. The realization that the people he was so aggressively loyal to could just easily write him off as some insignificant casualty makes him snap. But unlike your average Japanese office worker who's lost it, Rock doesn't fling himself off a building. No. All fear leaves his body and he feels pure anger at the world for his circumstances. The pirates, who realize that they aren't gonna make shit by ransoming him off, decide to kinda just let him stick around. They empathize with the man who just watched his life crumble around him and treat him surprisingly well for a bunch of seemingly morally bankrupt criminals. This kindness at the hands of his captors leads to Rock growing a bond with them. He even questions if it's Stockholm Syndrome, where people develop positive feelings towards their kidnappers. You know, what League players have. But Rock quickly realizes that the life of a criminal isn't all friendship and bonding. Every mission they go on is a constant fight for survival. A far cry from his usual day-to-day of filling out Excel spreadsheets and staring at the receptionist's ass. The Lagoon Company's a weird group to say the least. It consists of a psychopath with daddy issues, a mysterious mercenary who no one can get a read on, and a dude from Florida. In this profession, trust is a rare resource, and no one knows about each other more than they have to. By all means, the group should be dysfunctional, but as they dodge death together daily, they only get closer and closer, and the viewer notices something weird happening. You realize the main reason you're watching the show isn't for the insane action or the tense moments. It's for the breaks in between where the crew is sitting back and drinking. The moments where we learn about each person's code of ethics and outlook on the world. What we keep watching for is Rock, Revy, Dutch, and Benny. The show lives and dies by its characters. At the heart of everything is the relationship between Rock and the woman who decided to kidnap him, Revy. She sees him as an outsider to the group, and he kind of is. Revy grew up living through poverty, corruption, and abuse at the hands of both family and people whose duty it is to protect and serve. This destroyed her outlook on life. In her eyes, she's just a ghetto rat with no power and nothing to believe in. She was born in shit and she'll die in shit. So who cares if she steals and kills? Life has no meaning and there's no God to judge her, so why not have a little fun? Everything from her fingerless gloves to her dead inside psychopath personality is incredibly edgy. Honestly, the best way to describe her is a female school shooter. And bro, it's so fucking hot. I think this show might have actually rotted my prepubescent brain because crazy bitches are the only thing that get the job done now. Luckily, there's an abundance of them. They're called Latina. Rock, on the other hand, continues to function like he's working an office job. He still walks around dressed like a used car salesman and urges the other pirates to settle things diplomatically instead of automatically jumping to violence and intimidation. When the Lagoon Company isn't at sea getting shot at, they spend their free time docked at a port town infested with criminals. Anyone will do anything to separate someone from their money. The churches are secret drug dens, the streets are littered with pickpockets and scammers. Look at this old lady. She'd probably stab you in the face if you walked past her without tucking your chain. In this environment, Rock Rock sticks out like a girl without colored hair at my liberal arts college, which is ironic considering how ordinary he was in his old life. But he pushes on, unfazed by being clearly different from every single person he meets. He would rather die by staying true to himself than live a life that he doesn't believe in. While Revy would probably curb stomp a toddler if it looked at her funny, Rock treats everyone with respect, even refusing to rob dead bodies. The conflicting views of the two leave the viewer glued to the screen. Considering most of you aren't hardened criminals, you identify more with Rock than Revy, so when she writes him off as just some white-collar nerd with an easy life and an unimportant opinion, and Rock doesn't fold and instead loses his shit and puts her in her place, you can't help but get hyped. The anime leaves no room for getting bored. Between the fight for survival, the battle of ideals, and Rock figuring out his place in the world, the viewer gets fed an endless number of questions to ponder. What has Dutch done to be able to talk spicy to mafia members without getting his kneecaps blown out? How long until all the criminal organizations start an inevitable war? Is Rock gonna pipe? I need to know this shit. The show's music is the main reason it managed to stick with me throughout the years. Most of it's just okay, but there's one song that the production team decided to go crazy on: the ending. The show opens with this energetic guitar riff, immediately raising the energy and getting you ready to watch a bunch of action. But as you near the end of each episode, without fail, you get this wave of emotion over you. This slow, melancholic song that would turn even the most mentally healthy person into an Evangelion fan. It makes the show stand out. This isn't some brain-dead action anime made to sell toys to kids. This actually has substance. The song feels like we get to experience a hole in Revy's armor. Behind the badass gun-toting, cigarette-smoking killing machine is a deeply troubled person full of trauma, loss, and destructive nihilism. And as the song ends, we get that peek into her sadness ripped away from us with loud drums as she snaps back to being defensive and closed off. It's really cool. Or maybe I've just been brainwashed by my English teachers to overthink everything and made all that up. Guess we'll never know. Watching Black Lagoon kinda made me dislike every other anime I'd seen at that point. It does a lot of things that sets it apart from other shows and makes it likable. There weren't any flashback episodes where we got exposition jammed down our throats to learn everything about the characters. If they don't know much about each other, then why should we? The show doesn't want to hold your hand throughout. You could ask two people what they thought about it and get two different answers. If you don't pay attention to the symbolism or think about what the characters are saying, you could pretty easily walk away thinking this was just an action show. Alright, listen, I'm about to blow your mind. The characters are adults. You might not think that that's significant, but it bleeds into everything they do. For some reason, anime has this obsession with high school. I think it's because the people making it are overworked and are thinking back on when they actually enjoyed life, but your guess is as good as mine. The problem with this is that high school is a boring setting, and the characters are written in a way where they can get away with having brain damage. I knew something was wrong when Rock walked in on Revy waking up half naked, and there wasn't some unfunny nosebleed panty shot joke that happened. It makes the show so much more watchable. It made me realize how much I disliked dumbfuck teenage anime characters. This also means that the show's pretty safe to recommend. There aren't any lolis, no unfunny anime comedy. You could actually try to get others to watch this without making them think that you're a pet. Black Lagoon is actually funny, which sadly means that it couldn't be released today. In a period where people spend their free time engaging in performative activism on Twitter for attention, a time where multi-million-dollar companies will bend over and take orders from idiots farming likes on the internet, this show would get shit on immediately. Revy says whatever the fuck she wants, whether it's insensitive.
You're not cut out for this. Watch my hands. Retarded monkey could do it.
Or straight up racist.
You ready, Chinglish?
Yes, Twinkie, I'm ready. You don't forget when we finish job, I carve some meat off your ass, stupid whore.
To be honest, I'm surprised she didn't throw in a couple hard R's while she was at it. Keep in mind, these are criminals, bad guys who kill, steal, and extort people. They aren't bound by societal expectations. They don't have a NordVPN sponsorship gripping them by the balls and policing their language. Why the fuck would they care about self-censoring themselves when they're running around and headshotting people? The show isn't without flaws though. Like a white woman who can't afford plastic surgery, it shows its age. The intro looks like it was made in iMovie, the villains are all paper thin and talk like comic book characters, the bad guys all have the aim of a person suffering from Parkinson's, and when the leader of the mafia speaks Russian, it makes me want to forget the language. But despite a couple of minor hiccups, Black Lagoon remains a show that deserves to be remembered. What at first glance just looks like any other action anime is instead a refreshing, easy to watch collection of realistic characters who each feel like they have emotion, leading the show to take a place in your memory as something you can look back on and remember fondly. At least it did for me. I don't know, you might think it sucks.